Guess what? I helped to write a book. Along with Randy Kirk, Lars Strandritter, and Brian Wong, we created a book about Elon Musk and his mission. And today I had the good fortune to record a chat with all three of them. We talk about Tesla, we talk about SpaceX, we talk about Neuralink, we talk about Twitter, we talk about Optimus, we talk about the future of abundance, we talk about a lot of stuff. So watch the chat, then go get the book, or go get the book and then watch the chat. Either way you want to do it, enjoy the ride. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. I am very, very happy today to be with Brian Wang, Randy Kirk, and Lars Strandritter, who are co-authors. Actually, Randy and Lars, primarily the two of us, Brian and I, are like little contributing authors. But anyway, we've got a new book out called The Elon Musk Mission. We thought it was coming out in a couple of days, but it's actually already been published because Amazon is very efficient. So I'll put a link to that, of course, in the description so you all can go out and buy the book because it is fantastic. And it covers a bunch of stuff, but we wanted to talk today just about some things about Tesla and about SpaceX and about Elon Musk's other companies like Twitter, which is now an Elon Musk company. So there you go. Life changes. So first of all, I just wanted to start off, Randy and Lars, since you are the two primary authors, what was the genesis of this book? Like, how did it get started?
So 2.5 years ago, I wrote the Elon Musk Method. Now, I'm an entrepreneur my whole life. I've started 40 companies and 20 of them were actually successful. But that's normal. The 50-50, that's a pretty good average, actually, batting average for entrepreneurs. But so I'm an entrepreneur. I love what Elon's doing. I so identify with him. And I've written a bunch of business books, and I was like, no, I see what Elon's doing. I get what he's doing. I get how he does it. I can't do it. Maybe I could if I really worked harder than I do. But I identified 16 things that Elon does in the book that apply to small business people. You know, right now I'm a one-man show. Well, I have some VAs, but I'm basically a one-man show. But all those 16 principles still apply to me. Things like leadership and how does leadership work, and humility is so important in running companies. And I go into these 16 different things. Well, I thought that would be my last Elon Musk book. I thought I was done, move on to something else. In fact, I wrote 2 other books in the interim. Then all of a sudden it occurred to me, nobody was really talking about the details of the factories, the details of the marketing, the details of the huge moats that he has that are going to keep the competition at bay. Nobody was writing about kind of the combination of everything and how amazing it is for all of our futures. And so I came up with this idea to write about Elon Musk, the next trillionaire. And then everybody that read the book, everybody that read the beginnings of the galleys said, Randy, you're talking about you're at the wrong end of the game. Everybody's interested in when he becomes the next trillionaire, but Elon Musk isn't. You know, so why are you making it about him being a trillionaire? And so, what? 4 or 5 weeks ago, we reversed course. We actually flipped the book.
I did notice that. Yeah, it went from the introduction to the conclusion, basically. Yeah,
exactly. So now it's just a fun thing. A fun ending. I know Lars always likes to say, you know, now for a little fun. So a little bit of fun. So now at the end of the book, we have a little bit of fun where we all guess what is the day when Elon Musk will become a trillionaire. So now the book, the focus is really on what in the world has Elon Musk done? Right. And how is it going to dramatically affect the future? And also, it's a book for investors. Anybody that wants to, is thinking about, or is already invested in Elon Musk's companies. I know, I don't know, Ryan, am I telling a story out of turn here? I think
no, that's fine.
You actually have some money invested in SpaceX.
Yeah,
you lucky guy.
Oh, lucky. Wow. All right. So
anybody's invested in the companies, this book's really for them, because we get into the nitty and the gritty.
Cool. So okay. So Randy, you're by definition insane because you're a book author. And I say this being one myself, and I know how nutty it is. So Lars, what made you crazy enough to think that this was a good idea? Because I remember hearing about this several months ago, and I was like, oh wow, okay. And then you guys are fast. I have to give you credit. This book, like, it came about really quickly.
Yeah, Randy is fast. Yeah, well, like he said, he wanted to make a book about understanding Elon Musk companies, and I thought that was really, really exciting because that's kind of what I'm doing with my YouTube channel, and I love to dive into the whole production part of the factory and what they're doing and stuff like that, because I find it so interesting, and people that don't get that really don't understand Tesla as a company. So I thought that was a really good idea. And I was very honored that Randy picked me to be part of his book. Yeah, definitely.
So did Randy like cold call you? Did he just like suddenly send you a message and say like, "Hey, I'm working on a book. Do you want to join me?" Or
pretty much.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I actually did not know that little detail.
A message.
That's awesome.
I was actually driving down the freeway in my convertible, and I called somebody and asked if he could help me build a rocket. That's what. So cold calling. So if Elon Musk can cold call somebody to find out how to build a rocket, I could cold call somebody to see about co-authoring a book.
There you go. That sounds perfect. So I think you actually, Randy mentioned this earlier, but maybe it's a broader thing. But who is the audience for the book? Is it only investors, or is it us Tesla nerds that are like nerd out on all the math that gets involved and optimists about the future? Who is the audience?
I say it's all of those. I think you've got it right. So I think in my head, I keep this visual picture of my audience. And in this case, I had to keep a visual picture of two. Okay. I had to be able to write it and have you guys write it. And I think we did it so that somebody who is not a nerd, somebody that's just interested in futurism or interested in rocketry, interested in space, interested in autonomous cars, whatever, any part of what Elon's doing, or they're just interested in Elon, could read this book and get it. There's a couple of places that we go, pretty much, into some science, because that's why I got Lars and John, John and Brian involved. We needed some scientists on the team. But you basically, a non-nerd can read this whole book and not feel overwhelmed. At the same time, there's a whole bunch of people that watch you guys like daily, like me, that watch you guys daily, and they are nerded out and they know so much about everything that Elon's doing. And the book is designed to be like, I want their eyeballs to spin at least once a chapter. Okay? At least once a chapter, they should go, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought of that. So I kept them in mind in the book as well. And the readers that have read it already, we've had about 20 people that have come back with ideas on the book that have been in what we call a launch team. And pretty much they're all big time nerds. And they've, one after another, they've said, oh yeah, I had no idea about this or that or the other. Yeah.
Very, very cool. So let me bring Brian into this, because you're a numbers guy, scientist, engineer, but you're also really interested in some of the areas of Tesla that I think a lot of the mainstream media and even us common folks don't think about that much. So I was going to ask you, like, what do you think, or what sort of valuation, or what is the import of Tesla's not car businesses? They actually have quite a few, but I think a lot of people kind of ignore them right now. So so take it away. Let me know.
So most recent one I'm looking at was the Tesla Energy thing. So it's made just over $1 billion a quarter in the last Q3. And that was with the 2.1 gigawatt hours of installation. And they have the a factory dedicated to making the megapacks, which are the utility scale, roughly shipping container sized units that have 3 megawatt hours of batteries. There's a rumor that production at the new factory maybe up to 25 of those large container batteries per day, which would be the full production of that Latha factory, which would mean about 9 to 10 gigawatt hours per quarter, which would be 5 times more than what they made last quarter, which could get them up to that $4 or $5 billion per year range. And at the higher volumes, I think they'll have more margins, up from like 4% up around 20 or even more. There's potentially quite a lot of margin in there because they're selling the mega packs at like $500 per kilowatt hour. So if they produce or get batteries at the 70 to, and the pack themselves or whatever, it's at $70 to $100 per kilowatt hour, then there's potentially a lot of margin to be made if they double up for other parts of it. Potentially you could have like 50-60% margin there. And there's also software revenue that they can make from that thing. So perhaps next year that could be a significant contributor to revenue. If you're making $15-20 billion per year of revenue off of energy and making $4 or $5 billion of net income, that would be half or more of the net income over the last 12 months. The trailing 12 months, would be about that level of like, because they made about like, of course, they have to readjust based on the split, but it's still, I think, in that range of money where it becomes a significant contributor to that. And then beyond that, looking at the in the book is things like insurance. So they basically can sell insurance precisely where they get all the data about your driving habits because they record it completely, and they can price individual pricing for people, to say, okay, you're driving safer, so we can lower your insurance costs and stuff. So the revolutionizing insurance that way. So that's something like $1,000 to $1,500 to $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 per year of every year. So their fleet of cars. So if I make 1.5 million cars per year, but have 4 million cars total, insurance potentially for all those Tesla cars means that grows bigger and bigger. So if I make 20 million cars in 2030, but have 200 million cars in the fleet, then I have a fleet that's all making insurance money. So as they get bigger and bigger and more cars are out there, not just the cars I make in a year, then insurance, charging network, all those other revenue streams become more and more important and bigger things. Robots. Yeah,
just a small thing that's in the future. But
yeah,
I think it's actually really good to think about that, because Kathy Wood at ARK Invest, I believe, is, at least she was the first one I heard say this, but transportation as a service. You've got your one of the things that Apple has done very effectively, and some people are not happy about the amount they take from that, but they've turned a sale of a computer or an iPhone into a subscription service. So you're paying on a monthly thing. So the more things like charging and insurance and full self-driving subscriptions and potentially eventually a Tesla marketplace or something where they're earning money. You think about a traditional car company, they sell the car, that's it. And then they hope you come back for service. And that's where they can actually make a bunch of money. But Tesla says, we don't need to worry about service. Like it's unlikely to have service for an electric vehicle for a long time. So we're going to change the model and start doing subscription-based things that we can also make money on. And that just changes the whole game, because now instead of making a one-off, if you make $10,000 on the car, that's it, you're done. Or however much it is, whatever amount of money you make, you're done. But now it's like that plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this, and you just keep adding it up.
One of the most fascinating chapters in the book is really Lars's chapter on the charging stations. I mean,
right.
Nobody's paying attention to charging stations.
Right.
What if General Motors also owned all the mobile stations and all the Shell stations?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
It is.
So
from a consumer standpoint, I just was saying, I
Well,
just did $19,000 miles worth of road trips in the past 2 years in our car, which is insane. But all we have exclusively stopped at Tesla superchargers on the way because they're so easy, so convenient. All that stuff is in there. But it is an interesting thing that you've now got the person. It's like the doctor selling you the medicine at the same time. It's like, they've got this. And you do wonder.
Also going to be selling.
Yeah.
But also selling, the Ford 150 is going to be charging there too.
Right.
And the BMW. They're going to be charging.
They're going to have the Tesla app, and they can sit there with, with their non-Tesla. I think this is going to be such an amazing marketing stunt from Tesla that everybody's going to go to the charging station, because even like former CEO of Volkswagen, Herbert Diess, said last year when I also did a road trip around Europe, and he also did that, and we were both going through the Brenner Pass in Italy, and we had no trouble whatsoever, because we just let the car choose the charging stations, because it was all Teslas. So, and they all worked all the time, no problem whatsoever. Plugged in, go grab a bite or go to the bathroom and come back, and everything is charged up. Where he complained about Ionity chargers that Volkswagen has kind of created, right, because of the Dieselgate. But he said they were not good enough, because he came to somebody that didn't work. And, the study in California says the same thing, that was a 28% downtime for some of these guys, right? So Tesla really has a big moat here, in my opinion, with this charging stations. And even when they open it up, it's still going to be better for the Tesla customers, because they have it all integrated in the system. And it's also going to be cheaper, because you don't have to have a subscription to Tesla to get the price down of the charging to the same level as the Tesla.
And I also think of it as there will potentially be a problem, because it might get overcrowded at points, but that just puts money into Tesla's piggy bank, which means that they can then build more chargers. So yeah, so it is a good thing overall. And the Tesla app is actually smart enough now. I actually watched this driving down to Florida. Is one of the supercharger stations got a little too full. It was like, there were 12 stalls, and I think 10 or 11 were full, and it just rerouted us to another one. So it's paying attention to this. So you don't even know if something's full. You just get rerouted around it and don't have to worry about it. So
yeah, we actually experienced that a couple of times on our road trip this year in Europe, that it redirected us to other chargers because they were getting full. But also that Tesla's actually knows it is going to that charger, so it preheats the battery. And I think it was like 25% faster it charged when it come there, compared to an ID4 and ID3 that would charge at the same charger, even though the Tesla can charge faster. But just if they charge at the same speed, it will still get 25% faster charge, because of the preheat of the batteries that the others don't have. Right. So yeah.
And it's just remarkable. And it's just remarkable that the average consumer has no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
We still have one ICE car. I only drive about 5,000 miles a year. It's no reason to turn in my Volvo, but I'm in the Volvo. I'm driving down the freeway in a neighborhood I don't know. I don't know where the gas stations are. Yep. I've gotten off at really major stops, major off ramps in Los Angeles, and driven for miles to try to find a gas station. But in a Tesla, we already know. We just put click electric, and it tells us where all the where all the energy stations are. Yeah.
Right. And then I think something, Brian, along with the energy solutions, there's also the software aspect of all of these storage solutions, which is energy arbitrage. And we've kind of split this whole talk up, but we were talking in Lars's version, so definitely go check his out. But that you can install, now that they're less battery constrained and they can build more of these mega packs, you can install some of these mega packs at superchargers and do energy arbitrage, or just charge up overnight when it's cheap, and then charge the cars at a cheaper rate, and either save the consumer some money or make yourself extra profit, or both, which is probably the nicest solution. But that just opens up a whole new world of possibilities too. And so suddenly these things become distributed power stations effectively. They're not just chargers. And that's really cool.
And also construction's faster, because if I just roll up with a big block of batteries, and I set up 20 separate little charges going off the one main battery. I think they have something where they put it up in like, hours or something like that. They just like incredibly fast, which give them the more dominance, because I think Tesla has nearly 40,000 or 35,000 charging stations, and then Electrified America, number 2 in the United States, had like 3,500, so like 10 times more.
Yeah.
But then the domination is even bigger, because usage-wise, there was just some report saying that the Electrified America, each station gets used like a little over 1 time a day.
Wow.
So it's like, so they barely ever use, because people, one, don't trust them because of the reliability thing that Lars talked about.
Yeah.
They just like, you don't work, so I can't trust going there. I need to be able to keep going. And if I went last time and it wasn't working, then they barely ever get used. So
we drove up from I think Tesla is now at like 99.96% uptime or something. It's crazy. Yeah. And I think their version of uptime is more than 75% of the stalls working at any given place, which is, reasonable. But we were just anecdotally, we drove back from Cape Canaveral, and the first stop we made was at Orlando, and there were 12 Tesla superchargers and 2 Electrify Americas. And while we were there, because it was actually because we were kind of drained in the battery because we hadn't charged up in a while. Anyway, so we were there for like 25 or 30 minutes charging it up. And, Tesla's coming and going. And there was like one i4, BMW, is it i3 or i4? i3. Anyway, the little mini, super little one. And it was just sitting at one of the 2 Electrify Americas, and it just sat there the whole time, and it was still there when we left. And I was like, goodness gracious. But nobody else came. No one was interested in charging at those things. So yeah, it's kind of a money loser for these guys. Whereas Tesla, especially if they grow this to being outside of just the Tesla environment, the community, goodness.
And also the cost of the thing, because we saw in Texas where you could get some money to put up chargers if you open it up to all electric vehicles, and you can ask for up to, can't remember, 80% of the cost of the chargers or something like that. But Tesla didn't ask for much money, because they can build a supercharger stall for like $43,000, where the other asked for the full amount. So they at least cost them $200,000 for them to put up the charger, because they need to have the screen and the payment system and everything else, where Tesla just has a charger, because everything else is kind of in the car, so or in the app. So
I for people who don't own a Tesla, the supercharging experience is it's so much more pleasant than going to a gas station. I think that's the best comparison. Going to a gas station is dirty and nasty, and you have to put your credit card in, and you hope it doesn't spill on you, and it smells bad and all this kind of stuff. You go to the supercharger, you literally, you can say open butthole, or you can push the button, you plug it in, and that's it. It takes care of everything. You don't have to have a credit card. You don't even have to travel with your wallet, because it's just all synced up with your, it has something on record, like your credit card or something, and it just takes care of it all. It's very, very pleasant. And it's, once you experience something like that, you're like, everything should be like that. Why are all these other experiences so much worse than that? Because it's so nice to have that work. So
yeah, I saw you just posted a video about Model Y maybe being the best road trip car in the world.
And I said almost, because when the Cybertruck comes out, it will be even better. But
but I actually kind of agree with you. And I also made a couple of videos about my road trips around Europe, because I think it's just because people have to change their mindset from a gas car, where you have to go and go to the gas station and fill it up, and it only has to take 5 minutes and stuff like that. But on a road trip, like I did with my family, and I have 2 small kids, 5 and 8 years old. So we can't drive for 3 or 4 hours, or don't want to. We don't gonna get fatigue, and it's much more dangerous. And the road trip just get tough if you do it like that. So even on the way home, all the way from Switzerland to Denmark, there is like 1,300 kilometers or something like that. We didn't really wait for our car to charge even once, because we kind of started off with a full charge, because we could charge at the hotel, of course. So we just wake up and the car is fully charged, and then we go for a while. But we know we can't do what the car wants to do, because it goes for 3.5 hours or something like that. So we just pick the navigation system and says, okay, this one is closer. This would be like 1.5 hours. Let's do a bathroom break here. So we just make sure that our bathroom breaks is at a charger. So because it's like parking your car. That's how simple it is, pulling up to a charger, right? You park it, you plug it in, you go do your business, you go get a cup of coffee, bring it to the car, and the car is going from 45 to 80% and it's ready to go for the next couple of hours. And then we make another break like that. And we don't wait for the car to charge. I think that is really, when people get this from moving from a nice car to an EV, I think this is a much better way than and like Randy said, also on the road trip, we were driving up in the mountains down in Italy and stuff. I would not know where there was a fueling station for me. And I was sitting on the top of the mountain in the Stelvio Pass in Italy, very famous pass, but the car wanted to go like 200 kilometers and I only had like 37% left. I'm like, what? It can't do that. It's not that efficient. But it was downhill and I get over and over another mountain pass in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, oh, but I had no range anxiety whatsoever because I knew the car knew what it was doing. And true enough, it could go to 200 kilometers.
And I have witnessed many times where the car will, like if it realizes that there's a headwind or somehow it's gotten less range, it just figures it out. You'll just see it suddenly go like boop, and it'll just change to whatever the next charger is, and it will figure it all out. So it the other thing, and this was something, Lars, from your channel, I saw a video from you recently, that you also have to take account that road trips are relatively infrequent. Most of the time, you're just doing your daily commute and your shopping and your whatever. And in that case, you just plug the car in at night and you never have to go to a gas station. So, you have zero need to go to a gas station during normal life. Your daily. And
that was actually something I said also 3 years ago when I started my YouTube channel. One of my earliest videos where I tried to get this message out was that we drive a lot in my family because my wife drives quite a bit to get to work. So we have to fill up our gas station, our gas car 2 times a week, and it takes like 5 minutes to do that. You get there, you have to pay and all that good stuff, but you also have to get off the way to go to the gas station and back en route in busy hours. So my wife was always at the evening, oh, can you go fill up the car? Because she didn't want to do it in rush hour. I was like, okay, I'll do that. But
no, my wife does that to me too. We still have one ice car and she does that to me. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. So, but that's 10 minutes a week. That's over 10 hours in a year that we save having an EV instead of a nice car. Because we have a house, of course, we have to have this on the streets as well for people in apartments. But for people in a house, I save 10 hours. So even if I should wait on a road trip on the way home for half an hour, I have still, saved 9
and the inconvenience. Gas stations are just, like you said, getting off the highway in busy traffic, having to deal with all of that stuff. It's no fun. So I do not miss gas stations at all. That's one thing. So let me ask this question to everybody. I'll go around the circle and see who wants to answer. But and you can include Twitter now, since Elon owns Twitter. I guess he really does, because it's a private company. What particular thing about any of Elon's companies excites you the most in the next year or two? Like, what's the thing that you're looking forward to the most and the most excited about?
I'll go first on that. So the thing I'm most excited about is the SpaceX Starship, which hopefully will fly in the next couple of months, and may even do a landing on a Mechazilla thing. That's the most exciting thing for me for the next month. Hopefully, if they're flying regular cargo missions after that, if it's successful over the next one that works, then getting up to having the direct to satellite phone service, text and voice from T-Mobile. That'd be exciting. The other thing that would be that even if the Mechazilla landing fails, that would be insanely entertaining too. If you have a massive crash and explosion, it would delay them 6 months, but it would be an amazing sight, because the explosion would be just insane.
It'll be YouTube gold. So there we go. You're right. What does Elon says? He promises things will be exciting, not necessarily that they'll work, but they will be exciting.
Yeah, if I shouldn't take the Starship as well, because I think in the near future, that is so out of the mind kind of an experience when to see that, because I still remember in 2018 when the 2 side boosters landed at the same time, and that
Falcon
was
Heavy, yeah.
Right.
and I was just blown away, and I showed it to all my colleagues, like, what are you
Oh, yeah.
screaming about? Look at this. This is crazy.
This is
So I
absolutely
think
nuts.
when the Maxilla Tower is going to grab a Starship, that is good. That's bananas. But if I should choose something else, I would say full self-driving. I'm really excited if Elon can deliver on this within the next, let's say, half year. It doesn't really matter if it's this year or in the beginning of the next year, but if he can get this to function as well as a human, and show the world that it is possible, even though he's solving one of the hardest problems we have ever had to do. Because that is, in my opinion, really, every time people talk about Elon not delivering on time or stuff like that, it's always about the full self-driving, because he's been right on the money on production. And a model might be late or stuff like that, but it's always the full self-driving that is kind of a cloud hanging over Tesla, because people don't trust Tesla or Elon Musk because of this. But I think it's unfair, because it's just such a big problem they're trying to solve. And now they get a lot of hate because they're trying to solve it the real way, in my opinion, with vision, like really solve AI. And I think the penny dropped for Elon when he got this, that understood that they have to solve AI to solve full self-driving.
And it was very interesting. I think his Tesla Owners of Silicon Valley interview, he specifically said that he was the one that came in and said, no more radar, go away. Yeah. So it was his decision. It was not anybody else's. So very interesting. And now, of course, ultrasonic sensors are going away too. So yeah.
And I think it's also nice to see Elon being so honest about it when he said when they removed the radar, they realized how bad their software was. Because it was like a software with training wheels on, right? But then it took them off, like, oh, I can ride my bike. So
you think about a 5-year-old that's learning to ride their bike and they think they're really good with training wheels on, but when you take them off, they're like,
oh, crap. Exactly.
Well, I'm gonna do 2, because one of them, the number 1 for me is so boring that people will think I must not be any fun at parties at all. But so I'm so old that I used to go get the newspaper in the morning. Newspaper in my driveway. We had a newspaper that they delivered.
What's a newspaper?
And the reason I wanted to run out and get the paper, and then I would divide it up, because my dad wanted the front page and my mom wanted the family page, or whatever they called it, the home page, and my little brother wanted the cartoons. I wanted the sports page. And why did I want the sports page? I wanted to find out how many singles had Stan the Man Musial kept his batting average up. See, you guys are so young, you don't even know who Stan the Man is. I was a St. Louis Cardinal fan. That was a very long time ago. And he, that I wanted to know. I wanted to know my favorite pitcher, I was all about their averages and who was doing what. And so I am excited about the stats. It drives me crazy, but every day I want to know the stats. So what do I want to know next year? This is the secret that's in the book. We tell the story. Elon is going to ship a lot more cars next year than anybody is predicting. I mean, anybody. Okay, there's one guy that's predicting more than I am, or that we are, but it's a lot more than people think. And that's because, and it's not that hard to do the math. You're going to get 2 million cars out of the 2 existing factories.
Right.
And then you just have to add in the other 2 factories. Right. You guys do the math. Anyway, so that's my number 1. I want to see if they actually hit the number that we have predicted in the book. Okay.
And you have to go get the book if you want to find out what the number is.
That's it. You have to get the book. But the other one, to prove that I do like exciting and fun things like normal humans, is I want to see the Model A, the Model Q, the model, whatever they're going to call it. Of course, I recommend, maybe you guys agree or don't agree. I think it has to be the Model A, because it has to spell out sexy cars.
Right.
And all the other letters. So the A is what we need. So I think it has to have A in it. It could be androgen. I don't know what it could, but it's got to be an A. Anyway,
It could also
so
be
I
an
want-
8. It could be an 8 because the 8 would look like an A. So there you go.
So I'm very excited. I think it will be unveiled maybe in the first quarter because they need to make it. He says he's going to make them in 2024. So
Yeah.
I think the unveiling has to be in the first quarter.
Right.
Along with the announcement of where it's going to be made and maybe a couple of additional factories. Because if he's going to make as many as he says he's going to make, he's going to have to start making factories fast.
Right.
And so I'm interested. Is it? I think we would all maybe you all, I don't know if you guys agree or not. I think it's going to be versatile. It'll be either with a steering wheel and pedals or not.
Right.
So you'll be able to get it either way. It'll be built and designed so that you just send it down that line into those cells if you want it to have a
Right.
steering wheel, and you send it over in those cells if you don't want it to have a steering wheel. I think that's what it's going to be because Elon is all about versatility, and we have a chapter on versatility.
There you go.
It's the most important mode. Read the book. Anyway.
Oh, I was going to ask about naming a motor too, but there you go. Versatility is a mode. So, ta-da!
It's a huge
It's a
mode.
huge mode. Yeah.
People don't think about it, but that's why they're still in business. Doubling or 50%ing their production over the last 2 years during COVID, while
Right.
everybody else has got no production, is because they were versatile enough to switch their chips.
Right.
They're versatile enough to change the battery chemistry weekly if necessary. Okay, we don't have enough nickel. Let's make them out of something else. And they just, okay, we don't have enough to make the new semi truck with 4680s.
4680s. Yeah.
All right, we'll make them with the ones we got. So that versatility mode chapter, some people are saying, besides your guys' chapter, okay, it's the most brilliant chapter that I wrote.
There you go.
And I think that the low price car would probably be produced in the new Shanghai factory. So they're making a second Shanghai factory,
Right.
and most people aren't talking about that either. But basically,
Right.
to double the production in China, and the China design studio was working on the low price car for quite a while.
Yeah.
So many things kind of aligned. That also the market. People always talk about how Tesla doesn't have a great market share in China, but by my calculation, they have over 50% of the over $40,000 cars in China as well.
Right.
So if you look at over $40,000 cars in Europe, China, and US, it's all over 50%. But China has 80% of its market is the cheap cars, some insanely cheap, like really golf cart things. But having an inexpensive car would give addressable market,
Huge.
nearly half of the China market, and then a large part of the European market. So making it there, shipping it to Europe would be, and another place would be the key thing. For
Did you see the
Tesla.
news this morning? Did you see the news this morning?
I was
Which
just
one?
going to bring this up about Berlin.
They've applied for an extension of the
Yeah.
Berlin facility. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of my Patreon patrons in Germany told me that they have already started clearing trees. So,
yeah.
apparently it is. I don't know if it's been approved or if they're just going for it, but it's happening. So that is huge
Cool.
news. Like, right, phase 2 of Giga Berlin,
Huge.
could be coming online very quickly. So,
And that could also be
yeah.
making small cars.
oh yeah,
Because
absolutely.
he said he was going to have a different look for China than he had for
Right.
Europe.
Yeah, and I sort of have the opinion that they've been holding off on that car. Number one, they were battery constrained for a long time, so that really, why make cheap cars when you can make expensive ones that people are still buying? But that was one of the reasons. But then the other one, I really feel like, what Brian was saying. I think Elon really, really wants this car not to have a steering wheel, and so you've got to have enough confidence in your full self-driving, the autonomous driving, in order to do that, because otherwise you've just built a whole bunch of cars that nobody can drive because there's no steering wheel in them. So I do like the idea of being versatile and having either or. That's interesting.
Yeah, here's my big argument against that. Everybody talks about only autonomous cars in the future. Impossible.
Okay.
Okay, you're still going to have salespeople that are not going to be able to use an Uber. They got to have their samples in the car. They got to have their, They got to have their computer set up in the car. They're not going to want to take a Robo Taxi because they need to have their stuff with them. And there's tradesmen that have the same issue. And there's a whole bunch of folks that are still going to be owning cars, I think, far into the future. So that's why I think there will still be the choices much after a lot of people are thinking there.
For sure, you could have that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to drive that car anymore. So people will want to own cars for sure. But what if you just could buy the car and just you own the car, but you don't have a steering wheel? Yeah, so that you can do you can get on your laptop and you can work while you're driving, while the car is driving you someplace. As a salesman, how much time would you recoup from that? From all the driving you have to do. Yeah, right. So
it's kind of like Manhattan, where you have an insanely good taxi system and subway system. Many people would use it, but then the wealthy people still have their own cars for those other situations where they want it. So you'd have, but they said the percentage using getting a ride from a robotaxi would be increased.
Right. So, and I could see that, but I really feel like people who have like 2-car families, like you're saying, Randy, you're like, we have the Volvo still. But if you had easy access to robotaxis, you could get rid of that, because any of those kind of local drive kind of things that you would do, you could just take a robotaxi and then you own one car.
That's totally my plan. That's totally my plan.
Oh yeah. I love
my Volvo. I will be honest with you. The thing does 0 to 60 in 4.5. Okay, it's a 300 horsepower.
Oh, this is a big guy. Okay.
Turbo. Yeah. So I like my car.
Right.
But I'm ready to let it go when I can trust the robotaxi system. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm very strongly of the opinion that the Cybertruck will be our last car that we purchase. I think, because we've got a car that's 2 years old right now, so we could easily own it for another 6 or 7 years without a problem. And then the Cybertruck will get at the earliest next year, probably 2024. And I will definitely say by 2027, we're looking at robotaxis being a pretty significant portion of the environment out there. And so why would I, by 2028 or 2030, when I would be looking at a new car, why would I buy a new car? That would be crazy.
Does everybody have a Cybertruck on order?
Yes. Yeah. I got several on order.
No?
Yeah. Lars, you don't have one?
Well, I know you're in Europe, but still.
It's going to be decades before I come to Denmark anyway.
I have mine on order too, but I'm only going to Turo it out.
Oh, yeah. So my thinking there is that you can make a Cybertruck robotaxi network. It was very low deposit.
Right.
And then, you already made money, assuming they honor the price on the FSD from 10K to 15K, and then if they let you be part of the robotaxi network with the Cybertruck, because if they get FSD working like they're saying in 2023, then your Cybertruck will have a working FSD, fully functional robotaxi level.
And I'm a little, people ask me about the Model Y and doing robotaxis, assuming that was capable. And I would not be super enthusiastic about loaning that one out, even for Turo and stuff, because it's a relatively sensitive car, right? You ding the door and you get a dent in it and stuff. The Cybertruck, none of those concerns. I'm like, what are you going to do to this thing? It really doesn't
take a metal
matter.
Ball.
Yeah, take a metal ball is it's kryptonite.
Yeah. I did Turo on a couple of my vehicles for a few years, and you do get those dings,
Yeah.
But the Cybertruck solves that, and it's just I think the Cybertruck will be the number one item on Turo.
Yeah.
As soon as the Cybertrucks come out,
I think it was actually the Tesla Loop guy. I can't remember his name, but he had to Tesla Loop, the taxi renting system. But he also said this with the Cybertruck, that it can seat 6 people, and if it's gonna be able to drive itself and there's no maintenance and the battery can last for 1 million or 2 miles, that. Yeah, driving from San Francisco to Seattle or something like that would be very, very cheap in a car like this, and it wouldn't take that long, and you don't have to drive. You can just sit back and relax and watch a movie or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
That'd be another reason to make the A car out of the stainless steel, so you don't have to wash it.
Okay, I'm glad that somebody else. I have been saying this for 2 years. 2 years ago, I did an episode where I said it needs to be made out of stainless steel.
Probably where I got the idea.
Yeah, but it's like the whole point is that this thing should be indestructible because it doesn't have to be beautiful. If it's not for purchase as much as for just used as a taxi service, then it doesn't have to be gorgeous and it doesn't have to be super fast. One motor, a reasonable battery and comfortable. That's the important thing. So yeah. Anyway, we'll see what they decide to do. Soon enough, they're going to reveal it, and then all of us will be proven wrong, or at least I will be. But I'll be disappointed because I think it's such an obvious thing. But if I'm right, I get to point back to that original video and say, "Told you."
That's right. That's right.
So why didn't Tesla pay me? Okay, so we've talked about a lot of stuff. I'm interested in. We've talked about SpaceX. Anything interesting about Twitter or Neuralink or Boring Company, or are these all just
Neuralink?
Yeah,
Neuralink just moved back their reveal day. I think so. We have this other contest we should be running. The other contest should be which will ultimately be the largest revenue business out of all the business.
Right.
And Brian makes the case in the book, and he might be right that it might be Starlink. Robo Taxi, Elon seems to think the robot, the Optimus will be the number one revenue business. But I think there's a real case to be made that everybody, if everybody's always 12 inches away from this, they say it's the first product ever that 23 and a half hours a day, you're no further away than 12 inches.
Gosh, that's true. Even at night, you just stick it on a little stand right next to you. Yeah. And I'm filming online, so
So if that's true, then I think every human being will eventually be putting that quarter-sized thing in their skull. And he says he wants it to be as inexpensive and inobtrusive as LASIK is now.
Yeah.
And so if you can go into a place and 2 hours later you walk out with this thing that's going to magnify I was hoping it would magnify my charm. That was what I'm not so.
I don't.
You're right, max charm.
Magnifying though.
Right, there you go.
More charm would be. So I think Neuralink is every human being, and he can charge whatever he wants.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
People would pay $100 a month easy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, I mean, you do the classic drug dealer thing where you give them the first one free. It's like you get a free month, and then after that, people will be like, "Oh no, need more." So yeah, all you have to do is just hook them in, and that's going to be it. Because I can't even imagine how cool it would be to have. You think about how slow. Well, I mean, you're a writer, right? You're sitting there going tick 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 tick. Oh my gosh, if you could just go on the paper. No, it'd probably be. You'd have to learn how to do it, probably, but it would be amazingly efficient.
Oh, every writer has the problem that you can't download it as fast as you can think.
Yeah, exactly, and that's always a problem.
You think of it in the middle of the night. You'd like to be able to download it then.
Exactly. Yeah. So
yeah,
wow.
Oh no, it's phenomenal to think about what Neuralink can do. It's just, and then Warren, he makes the case that the tunnel thing will be the biggest,
right? Which is also really interesting, right? It's just amazing. It's like every one of it, and then you could make an argument that Twitter could potentially be the biggest thing. Because if they can learn how to monetize it and they can sort of take over the world and become the everything app. I mean, he really is going back to the early days of PayPal and X.com and stuff. And if you have, I mean, I know that it's not WhatsApp. What's the one in China? Is it?
WeChat.
WeChat. Thank you. But if you start thinking along those lines, it's your banking app, it's your bank, it's your social media app, it's your thing that all of your identity is. Yeah, all of your financial and life entities. The Tesla app is rolled into that, your Robo Taxi access is oh my gosh. I mean, and then us content creators.
Everybody has to get the Tesla app anyway to charge their electric vehicles. So they have to get that app as well because it's in that app.
So everything is all connected. Yeah, this idea that he has of this X.com is almost terrifying in its vision.
Well, the thing is, when you have Starlink, they start putting up Generation 2 satellites, which are 5 times bigger. They have FCC approval on that. So the direct communication ground to Earth. And then the bandwidth on those things, when they put up 30,000 of them, which could go up shockingly quickly if they get the Starship going, then you have bandwidth to have like a 1,800 or 2,300 terabits per second from all those things, 500 over land, 1,800 over the ocean. Then last year, the whole internet was 600 terabits per second. So basically, he can backhaul the entire internet. But then adding that into the video, he says he can do YouTube on it, which is of course no brainer. YouTube, TikTok.
Right.
Then all the video bandwidth stuff he can easily just handle himself. And then if you have Starlink users up to 300 million, how quickly you can add up your Twitter users? Where I got everyone who's using Starlink is on Twitter, the new X company, and then you have 200 million people on Tesla. So getting to 1 billion, 2 billion people on all of his things, people say, "Oh, I don't believe he can build it up." It's like it's a no-brainer that he's going to get to multi-billion people onto his system.
And then let's tack on to that you're in the middle of a national park, far out in the middle of nowhere, at the top of the Matterhorn or something like that, and your phone is communicating directly with Starlink satellites so that you can never lose track of Twitter. Twitter is always, you're out there in the middle of nowhere and it's like, oh, Elon just tweeted. So
it goes crazier. It goes crazier. You're out in the middle of nowhere and you've got Neuralink.
Oh.
You go, oh, I need to make a deposit.
Right.
And you just think about it.
Right.
And the deposit's made,
Wow. That's just nutty. Although the flip side of that could be like, why the heck do I need to go to the middle of nowhere? I can just imagine I'm in the middle of nowhere. Just pretend it.
Take me to the middle of nowhere.
It's like, I want to go to the beach today.
Did you guys see that? Did you guys see that movie years ago? I got to find out what the name of the movie is. I don't think it was very good. The part about it I remember is the people are getting on a train or a bus, and everybody on this train, they're sitting in their seats like they would normally, but they're all just staring ahead like this. Nobody's talking. Nobody's got a cell phone. Nobody's got a computer. They're just staring like this. And then you realize they all have the contact lenses in.
Right.
And they're doing everything through their brain and the contact lens. So they don't need any of the other devices. I mean,
Could happen.
It
Okay, so we've taken a big chunk of time, but before we go, I want to ask everybody one question, and it's an important question, and that is, you have to give me a date for when Elon Musk will become a trillionaire. So I want, and I guess I'll throw mine in too. But anyway, Randy, I know you've thought about this, so you can go first because
it's in the book.
It's in the book. Okay,
should I give it up now?
No, just tell us the year. Just tell us the year.
All right. So I'm saying it'll be 2024.
Okay.
I was going to go with 2023, but one of you guys, was it one of you guys, Brian?
No, it was me. I was like, he sold off a lot of shares of Tesla, so it's changed the equation somewhat.
It changed the equation, and I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I did move it. I had it for October 14th, which is my wedding anniversary of 2023. So I've moved it to sometime in 2024, but I'm not going to tell. You have to buy the book.
There you go. Who else wants to take a guess?
I'll go for late 2024. Sure.
Okay.
Because of I'm assuming that the Robo Taxis working. I think that'll be the big boost to getting that up. Starship would be working. They probably have a Starlink IPO at that point. So Starlink IPO should send up the value of SpaceX up from $150 billion now up to about 600, 700 billion, 800. And then if you have a good trading day, then Elon owns over half of SpaceX. So that will make it possible. So I think
I pay pretty much anything for Starlink stock. I don't think there's a limit.
I really wish. I actually just direct messaged Ross Gerber today and said, "So how do I get in on this Starlink thing?" I think I just need to buy his fund. But anyway, all right, Lars, what about you?
Then I'm going to take summer next year, because then we're going to
summer of 23.
No, sorry.
24.
Okay.
We're taking the middle.
I'm optimistic, but not that.
There you go. I'm going to do this because of a personal reason. I'm going to say January 29th of 2025. And that's because I turned 60 that day. So I would really like for Elon Musk to become a trillionaire on the day that I turn 60. So there we go. So yeah, we'll just
and how much will he eventually be worth? There's another comment.
Has anybody read the Dune series? I mean, I feel like this is CHOAM in the making.
Exactly. I made a movie about it called it CHOAM, because with the AI and robotics and SpaceX all combined, it's like, what is the limit then? There's no.
Yeah. And especially if he can get off planet, then it really is what is the limit, because then you can just keep extending. So it's nuts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as much as this we're talking about the Elon Musk Mission, the second book in the series after the Elon Musk Method.
Right.
There's the trilogy and maybe even a quadrilogy.
Yes.
Right. So I don't want to tell anybody anything about it. But Brian, the name, the working title we have right now is, do you remember?
Elon Musk Abundance.
No, the Elon Musk Magic.
Magic. Right. Oh, because you got to keep with the M's.
The coming age of abundance. I think we shouldn't say anything more about that. Now, we don't have a working title, but then Dr. Know-It-All says he's got a version of the series, which I don't know what they call it after a trilogy.
A quadrilogy, sure. Yeah, or part series, something like that. So we'll see.
We don't have a working title yet, though.
Yeah, now I just realized I'm restricted because I have to come up with the Musk something with an M, and so we're running out of words that start with M. So Elon Musk's Musk.
The Elon Musk madness.
Oh, there we go.
Good.
Elon Musk madness. There it is. So, all right. Well, thank you all so much. I really do appreciate your joining me. And as I said earlier, we've got Lars's channel and also Brian's channel will have other parts of this interview. So if you just want to just take it all in, make sure that you watch all three of them. And of course, go purchase the book. It is online now, and I'll put a nice link to it in the description so you can find it easily. And in the meantime, everybody have a lovely day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.